Good evening. Good evening. How's everybody doing this evening?
Good evening.
Welcome to another installment of our book review. Let me turn this down a little bit here. Another installment of our book review, Smart Leadership by Mark Miller. We're doing the 4 simple choices to scale your impact. Right now, we're on choice number 3, which is fuel your curiosity. Fuel curiosity. Um, It's myself and Pastor Sanders tonight. I will be presenting with you, or I will be presenting and discussing with Pastor Sanders tonight. I want to do a quick recap. Basically, last week we talked about the second one, which was grow capacity, and basically talked about starting with yourself and clarifying your role. Don't think people really understand how important it is to determine what your role is in your organization or business or whatever the case is. A lot of leaders, they make mistakes on certain things. They never clarify what they're actually supposed to be doing. They fail to adjust their priorities, things of that nature. They don't get a chance to clean up their calendar. And they talked about 3 different things where he talked about eliminate, chunk, and track. So basically, eliminate activities, cluster things, and then track your investment. Track your time for investing your time. Sorry about that. And then talked about leveraging technology. Don't be afraid of it. Use it to your advantage. Create margins, which are basically healthy boundaries. He talked about what's your role. He gave 4 different ones. He talked about being a doer, delegator, and a developer and a designer. Um, Basically, a leader can do all of these roles, but there's not really a job to do all of those roles. You actually got to leave some of the job up to your team or your organization members. So, what's the catch? The catch is that leaders must lead the way. So, don't be afraid of change. It's okay to have change. Then he talks about management versus leadership mindset. This is a very good one when he talked about management because management is more focused on the general focus of the control, while the leaders are focused on the growth. So you don't want to get caught into a manager's mindset. I'm not saying that is not a good role because you need both of them in order to be able to progress your business. Then he talks about stopping and thinking, being in that luminal space. Basically, it's like a space of limbo, like having the threshold between your doorway from outside to inside. He said, don't shy away from that because you got to be able to look in the past to be able to learn what's what, so you can move into the future. So don't be afraid of that. And he talks about those margins again, where you create those times and space to reflect, create, think, and plan. Um, he also talks about how creating your margin in your world and what that looks like. Basically, having focus days, morning rituals, daily reviews, personal retreats, after actions review, expand your energy and energy for all things, including your personal relationships. Then he talked about owning your energy, having an energy management plan, basically saying you need to be able to exercise and stay healthy, fuel and fluids, stay hydrated, get plenty of rest. This is very pivotal in what he talked about as far as being able to execute and being able to use for your team members, and because they're looking at you and they're trying to see where you're going with everything. So be able to get rest, have recreation, relationships, find people to enjoy time with, know your purpose, have spiritual practices, and that was pretty much it. So now we're going to get ready to move forward to our next one, which is smart choice number 3, which is fuel curiosity. So because of our time tonight, there was a lot of material in here. So there's going to be a few things that I'm going to skip over uh, and move forward. But I've highlighted certain things because there's a lot of questions that he put into this one where he wants you to be able to think about a lot of stuff, ask questions. He kept reiterating that over and over about asking questions over and over and over. No matter how far you go, he even used this one. that I get into about the 5 why. But let's go ahead and move forward to the next one. So here it is where he talks about feeling your curiosity. And talks where he says, I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious. Albert Einstein. The best curiosity is often the unsung hero behind their creativity, adaptability, innovation, and impact. We were born for this. So that just tells you right there that this is something that you was already innate to do. It's already in you. It's not like you got to go out and find it. You was born to do this. It is essential for every leader who desires maximum impact and longevity to learn how to fuel curiosity. Your job, as you come to believe, first as a child or later as an adult, was to conform and learn the predetermined answers to a question. So when he talked about those predetermined questions, it was interesting because um, he brought up a scenario where he was talking to a sophomore class, and they put a dot on this. Teacher put a dot on the chalkboard, and he asked the sophomore class, "What did they see?" And so everybody's just sitting there, just looking around. Nobody's really trying to say anything. They're nervous. It was like, well, I don't want to be the person that say the wrong answer. So finally, somebody mustered up enough courage and said that it was just a dot. So the teacher said, that's interesting because the other day I asked a kindergarten class the same thing, and they had more than 50 different perspectives. Some of them thought it was an owl's eye. Some of them thought it was a ship. Some of them thought it was like these various different things, a tiger, a butterfly. They just had all these different things, but it just shows you how young that a kid's mind can have so much creativity. But as we get older, we seem to shy away from those things and lose that ability. So when he talks about smart choice, right? Choose to fuel your curiosity, to maintain relevance and vitality in a changing world. So he says, how stable is your world? Here's how to focus it. How have your customers' expectations changed over the last 12 months? How have your employees' expectations changed since you first became a leader? How have your organization strategies changed in the last 5 years? How have your personal goals and aspirations shifted as you've progressed in your career? How has technology impacted your business? And how has foreign competition made your work more challenging? How do we navigate the white waters? How do you navigate the white waters? So he talks about basically being in like white waters and having, sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's a lot of waves going on. So he says, how do you navigate through those tough times? Says you must see a vision beyond the waves. You must push for solutions others deem impossible. We ask different questions. We are willing to learn from others, and we care about today, but we work to ensure there will be a better tomorrow. The case for curiosity. So with this one, it says when leaders begin to apply yesterday's solutions to today's problems, the end is inevitable. Basically saying that when he talks about those thresholds that I spoke with you about on the previous one, where you got to look in the past to be able to go to the future, don't be afraid of those liminal spaces. This is exactly what he's talking about here. So you got to be able to apply yesterday's solution to today's problems. Curiosity is really welcome, particularly in a season of success. That was interesting when I read that. I was like, wow, you would think that a lot of people would be interested in certain things, but no, a lot of time people try to shy away from those things. So says if it is not broken, don't fix it. We've heard that cliche 1,001 times. You already know how that is. Sometimes if it's not broken, you can always improve it though. So don't be afraid to try to fix something that isn't broken. This is not the case for leaders who choose to fuel curiosity, bringing life-giving gift to those they lead. So here's some of those curiosity gifts. Curiosity pays dividends in the short and long term. Curiosity opens new possibilities. Curiosity fuels growth. Curiosity can help future proof your business. Curiosity sparks creativity and innovation. Curiosity challenges complacency. Curiosity creates energy. Curiosity challenges inertia. And what you can't see, I apologize. I had some issues with my slide. Curiosity is contagious. Curiosity will improve your organization. So don't be afraid to go around, ask questions. Ask as many questions as you need. It is okay. I promise you, nobody is going to be mad at you.
Amen.
So, uh, number 8, well, we talked about rediscovering your curiosity. So in this one, it talks about 4 different things that a CEO was speaking about. You got to ask more and better questions. You don't want to just have just a regular random question that you probably already know the answer to. Ask something that you don't know the answer to, and don't be afraid. People, if they laugh, they laugh. If they don't, then hey, you might just learn something. Get out more. You can't you can't discover anything if you're just sitting in the house the whole time. Yes, we have the internet. True enough, we can go on the internet, we can find this, we can find that, but it's nothing like to actually go somewhere and to see it for yourself and to be a part of it. Test and learn. You got to be able to test the questions, test out what you're talking about, and see what people say. Get their feedback. It's not going to hurt. The more feedback that you get, the better you're going to learn. The better you're going to be able to move forward and carry your team. Then he also talks about read. So with the read part, it was interesting because he said if a CEO can find time to read, why is it a struggle for you and me? Why is that? We're actually doing a book review right now, and I really hope that a lot of you all go out and get this book. We're giving you snippets. Pastor Sanders and I are just giving you snippets of what's going on. Even though it seemed like it's very detailed, there's still a lot more in this book. So please go out, pick up this book, and read it. It is a very good read. Then he also talks about with all the demands of a CEO, has surely you and I can find time. We definitely can find time. Um, we can do everything else. We can watch our favorite TV show. We can play a video game with our kid if we can. I mean, you can find the time. It is okay. I mean, just like you have to find time for the word, you got to be able to find time for things like this as well. So be able to read. When you're reading, it can actually give you more ideas to a previous thought. Sometimes just because you ended here, you say, okay, well, I'm at the end part or this thought or whatever. There's not going to be anything else to it. You never know. You read something, you be like, hey, I was actually had something like that about maybe a couple of weeks ago. I didn't even think about this part. Now it just brought you to a whole nother situation where you can think about a thought that you had before because you read something different. So now he talks about capturing the magic and the mundane. This here, he was speaking more about what's the word I'm looking for? Like having a book. It's like a notebook that he speaks about. And this book is called a commonplace book. Now, when you say commonplace, it doesn't mean like you just leave it in common places around your house. That's not what I'm saying. You don't leave it in a common place at work. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's just that name for a personalized notebook. That's all it is. So basically, with this personalized notebooks, you want you to capture those things that capture your attention. So if you have to walk around with it, it's not gonna hurt anything. This is your material. Walk around with it. It prevents ideas from evaporating. So basically, when you are say you go to sleep, right, and as you're sleeping, as you're about to like really get into it, you had this thought, and you said, "Oh, that's gonna be good." I'm gonna write that down when I get up in the morning. Okay, let's try that out. So the next thing you know, you wake up in the morning and he's like, I know I had a thought, but I can't remember what it was. It's evaporated. If you had that notebook right next to your bed, you would have been able to jot down that idea, and then the next morning you could have been able to elaborate on that idea because now you have it written down. Talks about facilitate review. We've actually kind of heard this before in the last one. It's the AAR. It's the after actions review. It's something basically where you're going to take enough notes and then you're going to review it daily. So every day that goes on, just write notes down. I don't care if you're just having a regular conversation. It might not even seem that important at the time when you're talking to someone, but it's actually something that might be able to help you later on down the line. So just jot down the information, jot down the note real quick. It's okay. Once he talks about that, then he says these commonplace notebooks, and this is what I was telling you a few minutes ago, it's not intended to be seen by everybody. Personalize your collection to meet your needs. Only your needs. Don't let everybody else see what's going on. This is your personalized notebook. Keep it to yourself. One choice to rule them all. No, there is not one choice on here that can rule them all. As you see, there are 4 different choices that we have, and there's not one that's that's better than the other one. So, with that being said, like they said, it's probably not one. Each of them brings its own unique power. However, the choice of fuel curiosity to learn and grow is transformational. Transformational. It's our fountain of youth. It pretty much just takes you back to your beginnings and makes you be a little bit more curious as to what's going on in the world today, what's going on in your organization, what's going on in your family, what's going on at your job, what's going on with your personal friendships. So don't be afraid of those curiosity moments when it comes down to that, and that this is not the only one that's better than the other one. Fuel curiosity will ensure we can always provide a cool, refreshing drink those we lead so badly need. Sometimes they just need that. They need to be able to break up the monotony. They can't just keep going down the same path over and over and over. It gets boring. Like we spoke about a few minutes ago, it's mundane. It's not something that you want to get stuck into this little rut. So with that being said, at the end of this particular one, they always had these things called be smart at the end of these books, which I really like. So in this particular one, he says, think of something you would like to improve in your life or leadership. In your life or leadership. Next, we have ask, don't tell. Ask, don't tell. I see you, Pastor. Said, look, when I first saw it, the first thing I thought about was military. When I first saw it, I was like, "What? Wait a minute, that ain't what they said." That's so. In this particular one, he says, "Ask, don't tell." He says the important thing is to not stop questioning about Albert Einstein. Jim Collins revealed to the author that he tracks his questions and grade them based on their value. Based on their value. So it doesn't mean that one question is not good or one question is just so great, but it's about the value as far as what is going on at that particular time. Now, this question over here, it might not be as important for this particular situation, but it might be important for another situation. So he tracks those and grades them based on their value. Here we go. He says, why matter? Questions to a leader are like a pickaxe to a frontier miner. They can serve as your primary tool to unearth the nuggets of truth and insight we seek. Here's how questions are essential tools to fuel curiosity and scale your impact. The first one, questions make you smarter. Yes, they do. You can't get smart if you don't ask questions. I don't know how many people out here think that they can just get by and not know anything. There's grown people. You ask them something that's on the 5th grade level. That's why that whole game show was out at one time. How to be smarter than a 5th grader. You ask them about something, and they're not as smart as a fifth grader because guess what? As they got older, they stopped asking questions, so they didn't get smarter. Questions make other people smarter. It causes them to be able to think, become aware of what's going on around them and everything. Questions reveal additional information. Questions can transport you to a place you've never been. Oh, that's good right there. That a whole imagination. You can it's a whole plethora of things that you can come up with when you ask questions that you can take you to a whole nother place, a place that actually might be able to show you some insights on a situation that you had forgot about months ago, but it's taking you to a different place. You're like, wow, that's good. I need to use that for something I had before. Questions can actually spawn more questions. Like I know sometimes you ever had a kid and they say, well, why do we have to do this? And you tell them, then it's like, well, why do we have to do that? Then you tell them, then you say, well, why is this? So their curiosity is way different from ours. And this is where we need to get back to. Questions demonstrate your openness and humility. Questions can spark creativity. Questions can clarify a problem. Questions can help solve your most challenging problems. Putting your questions to work. Now, with this, there's so many different sections in this particular section here where they're going to have a lot of questions. I put them all in the PowerPoint because I want you all to be able to see these questions, but I'm only going to pick out a few of them and talk to you about or just point out. So the first one, when it comes down to communication, preparation questions. Who is your audience? So he talks about if you was asked to give a presentation, which is what I'm doing right now, what questions would you have to prepare yourself for the presentation? So one thing is I need to know who my audience is. Another was, what is the objective of my presentation? Well, we already know the objective is to do a book review. And then the other one was, what do I want the audience to know, feel, and do after the presentation? I want you all to be able to walk away with enough information that can carry you into the future of progressing and being creative. That's what I want when you ought to get this, to become better leaders, to become better speakers, to become better organizers, better doers, like we talked about another one, better delegators, better developers, and better designers. We're going to drop down from communication down to strategy planning. This strategy planning was more of a credible plan, what you can put together um, to help fuel the curiosity for your team. So it says, what is our current competitive advantage? How can we sustain it? And how can we enhance it? That's just one question with a multiple questions. We're actually going to talk about that later on too, when it comes down to multiple questions. The other thing when it talks about credible plan is, what do we think our competitors are working on and why would we care? Why wouldn't we care? It's our competitor. It's not like, I mean, if it's a food chain, for example, say Harry's Pizza and Mojo's Pizzeria, well, they selling the same thing, so they in competition with each other. But if it was Harry's Pizza and I don't know, say a bookstore or something, they're not in competition with each other. So I really don't care what they got going on because I'm not in competition with them. So if there's somebody that's out there that has the same exact thing, you might be able to learn something about how successful their plan is working. You might look and say, hey, well, this isn't working for me over there. I need to figure that out. So this is why you care, because you want to know what it is they're working on. The other thing it talks about as far as that, it says, how will we communicate the plan across the team and organization? How will we communicate the plan across the team and the organization? That's very important because if you don't execute the information correctly to your team, they're not going to understand it. They're not going to know what exactly they need to do to get the plan together, to be able to execute the plan and move forward. So you got to know how to be able to execute this information and get it across to them with enough know-how and understanding. Next, he talks about problem solving. This is basically tackling a problem, tackling a issue that's going on. So it says, what is the presenting problem? By the way, the presenting problem is rarely the real problem. So a lot of times we see the surface of an issue and we think that's what the problem is, when actuality it's something more deep down inside. So until you get down to the root cause of what that problem is, you're never going to be able to fix the issue. So keep that in mind. It says, what are potential root causes? Potential root causes is what I'm speaking about. So you have people that might have had some issues that happened in their life back in the day, and you're trying to figure out why they're acting out or whatever the case is. And you was like, I know this person is a really good team member, but I can't use them because they keep doing this, this, and this. I don't know why they're doing this. Well, once you get to know what their root issue is, then you'll be able to fix that, and then you can utilize them where you need to put them at. That's just one example. That's not every example. The next thing it talks about was what has already been tried, if anything, to solve this problem. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Don't really have to go too deep into that. You just pretty much, like I said, figure out what did this team do before. Oh, okay, they did X, Y, Z. Then let's try doing LMN and see what happens with that. Because since they didn't do that, we might need to try this a different way. The next one is discovery. Discovery are questions to aid in exploration. Questions that aid in our exploration. With this one, it talks about why are we doing what we're doing? What is the purpose of what we're doing? I mean, is it something that we really want to be doing, or should I be doing something else? So people don't really. It goes back to when it was talking about a leader, as far as knowing the purpose. You got to know what the purpose is, not just for yourself as a leader, but also what the purpose of your team is. So if you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to be able to get the right results that you're looking for. The next thing he spoke about is what else, if anything, have we ever addressed that was similar? What worked in the situation and what did not? Why and why not? So it kind of goes back to that last question that we was just talking about. What are we doing? You basically got to find out what's the root issue is. Why is it doing this? Why is it doing that? Scientists go through this issue every single day. Every single day. Despite how people might feel about scientists and everything, when they're trying to go and look at viruses or whatever the case is, they have a whole method that they have to go through in order to be able to find out what's going on with this particular virus. So with that being said, they find similarities over here. They hold on to that information. Then they go over here and they're checking something else, and they hold on to that information. They look and see what's similar before they can actually be able to move on. Stimulating, which is our creativity, stimulating reference questions. What would the opposite indicate? So if I know if I go straight, I'm going down to this particular store or whatever. But what happens if I go behind me? Is there another location behind me? Can I go that way? Can I go right? Can I go left? We got to be able to find out what's opposite. What does it indicate? What does it show us? Because just by looking in a tunnel vision, you're never going to be able to know what's going on around you. So you got to be able to know what the opposite is indicating. How can we break the problem and potentially the solution down into its elemental parts? This is very key, because when you start breaking, you compartmentalize things, and you put this part over here, you put this part over here, you put this part over there. Now you can focus on what's going on over here, what's going on over there, what's going on over here, in order to be able to get a better plan together to be able to execute what's going on. The next thing he spoke about was, how would you approach this situation if, how would you approach this situation if you had an unlimited or no budget? Unlimited or no budget. I'll be coming up all kind of ways. I'll be trying to figure out all kind of discovery ideas and explorations then. I don't mind. Hey, you said there ain't no budget. Hey, what about this over here on the moon? What about this over here on Saturn? Like, I'm trying to figure out all kinds of stuff after that because I have no budget. So, what would you do if you had no budget? Would you make frivolous decisions? Would you make um, very informed decisions? How would you make the? How would you make those mistakes or make those rights? It's totally up to you and what you can do. More on these stimulating creativity questions. But what they did is he actually called these the unorthodox brainstorming. So, like I talked about the moon a second ago, which was interesting, that first one. But it says, how would this problem have been addressed 200 years ago? 200 years ago. There we go again. We're looking back in that past. We're standing at that threshold and we're looking back again. See how all of these things are tying into each other? Like, so no one is better than the other one. So they're all going to tie into each other. And I'm sure that when Pastor Sanders do the last one, look, he going to bring it all home after that. I can guarantee you that because this book right here is so magical. When I tell you it has me at work. It has me at work talking to my coworkers. I don't really talk to people like that. I'm telling them things. I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm actually giving them some nuggets at work, and they're like, man, Touch, you never thought about doing that? Look here, I haven't thought about it, but I am now. So these are things that you got to start thinking about when you becoming a leader. It also talks about how would a child solve this problem. It goes back to what we talked about with the teacher and the dot on the wall. Kids' minds have a different view of the world. We need to try to have that same different view of the world. And next, he talked about interview questions. Now, these are hardworking questions for a candidate. So get ready. If you're somebody who is going to go up for a job interview or whatever the case is, these are some of the questions that you're going to want to know. So, what didn't you get a chance to include on your resume? So before you can even go and deal with that question, just go ahead and look at your resume and say, hey, what did I include? And refresh it. You should be refreshing your resume on a consistent basis. On a consistent basis. I didn't learn this from this book, but I actually learned it from my wife. And I was just like, what are you doing? You already got a job, like, and it's a good paying job. Oh yeah, but I got to refresh my resume because I'm trying to get to this point at the job. Huh? And she kept doing that over and over and over till she's at a point now where she can almost kind of coast a little bit. Not yet, but she can almost coast a little bit because she was never afraid of updating that resume. So this question right here, what didn't I get a chance to include on a resume? Start looking at it. Start looking at it. Start writing some things down about yourself. What would someone who doesn't like you say about you? This one right here, this really hit home because now it makes you come out of your pocket. We're so used to people who we know telling us all these niceties and things like that because they have a biased mind. But now we got somebody who we've affected them probably negatively. And now we've got to say, well, how would this person, what would they say about me? And you know what? I'm be honest with you. Just go back and ask that person. Be like, hey, listen. Now, I don't know how strong that problem is y'all got. But if the problem isn't that great, of an issue, then go back and be like, hey, why don't we get along? What have I done to you? I'll go and ask the question. So this way you can learn as far as who you are and what you've done to somebody so you don't do it later on. So don't be afraid to just ask that question. It is okay. I thought it was another one. Oh, there is another one. I'm sorry. So with this other one, it says, so what's your story? Everybody has a similar story. Everybody grew up somewhat similar. Some people grew up in a good household and things happen. Some people grew up in a poverty-driven household. Some people grew up right in the middle. But everybody has a similar story somewhere down the line. I found out the other day that my coworker, who I sit right next to, we talk all the time, but I found out that me and him basically grew up the same, even though he grew up in Florida and I grew up in Mississippi. We grew up almost the exact same way. And it was so interesting. So, what is your story? What do your story have to bring to the table? Now, here's a bonus question that the author put out there. He says, "What questions do you have for me?" So, this is basically him asking the interviewer, "What questions do you have for me? Like, what else can I tell you about me that I haven't already told you?" So, next one. Here's the one where it says, "Ask better questions." Ask better questions. This is tips to jumpstart your practice. So he talks about open versus closed questions. We've heard that all before. Stop asking open-ended questions, da da da. Basically, those open-ended questions is questions that are yes or no. Hey, did you go to school? Yes. That's a closed question. Hey, what school did you go to and major in? That's an open question. So these are things that if you want to learn something, you got to be able to ask those questions. Now, the next thing he talks about is single barrel versus multi-barrel questions. And what I liked about it is that single barrel question is just a straightforward question, right to the point. The multi-barrel questions are questions where it's like multiple questions inside of one question. Like I just asked a second ago, what school did you go to and what did you major in? That's a double barrel question. A single barrel question would have been, what school did you go to? Now they got to tell me this. Well, what did you major in? Now they got to tell me this. So the problem is when you ask double multi-barrel questions is a lot of times that first part of that question, it fell off. 9 times out of 10, you end up getting the last part of your question answered. I notice this a lot of times when I text people, right? And I text people, so I had to start slowing down because I'm a fast texter. So I had to start slowing down. I text you a whole bunch of stuff all at the same time, right? And then you'll answer one question. And I'm like, well, what about my other 50 questions I asked? Well, that's the problem. I asked too many of them. I should have waited for the answer for the first one and then move to the next one. So don't ask those multi-barrel questions because a lot you're going to miss out on the information that you're looking for. He also talks about leading questions. Leading questions is to a certain degree good, to a certain degree is not. What he talks about the leading questions are when you steer a recipient to a predetermined answer, right? Don't use these questions if you're truly interested in learning something. So to me, what he meant like a predetermined question or answer is like if you ask a math question, everybody know that 1 + 1 is what? 2, right? We know it's not 3. We know it's not 6. So that's a predetermined question, right? So what does 1 + 1 equal to? That's a leading question. A non-leading question is one where you don't know the answer to. Only they know the answer to. So you're asking this so you can learn something about the person or learn something about the competition or learn something about the organization or learn something about your team, period. So these are those types of questions that you want to kind of avoid, but only when it's necessary to avoid them. Next thing we talked about is some of his favorite questions. So some of the author's favorite questions. Now I'm gonna read all through of these because these is actually pretty good here. So it says for your team, what specifically are we trying to accomplish? What do we want to be true in a decade that's not true today? What one thing could we do in the next 90 days that would have the most impact? And doing curiosity questions, what has been your greatest insight in your career thus far? What advice do you have for me? Which books have you had the biggest impact on your life and career? How can I serve you? And then for me, how can I add value for this person? How can I add the most value for this situation? And what did I learn today? So finally, well, not finally, but close to the end. He had a side note here that says, you're going to need questions in your toolbox if you want to escape the quicksand and scale your impact. Wait a minute. We heard this before, quicksand. That was at the very beginning when Pastor Sanders first started this. This is an area where we don't want to be at. So in order to get out of this quicksand and stay out of it, make sure you got enough questions in that toolbox. Be smart. Here's an end part I want you all to think about. Make a list of your favorite questions, maybe 3 or 4. If you don't have any on the list them from the previous shown, like the questions that I kind of skipped through. Go back and look at those slides and see what questions that you can write down. Then see how many times you can use these go-to questions over the course of the next week. That's your homework. So finally, the last part that we talked about was talk with strangers. This is going to be so hard for a lot of people. Mark Twain said, wisdom is the reward you get for a lifetime of listening when you would have rather talked. Well, we know how that goes. But anyway, with that's another situation. So how do you want to talk? How do you want to talk? People who do what you do better. I'm sorry. Let me start over. Slow down. People who do what you do better than you do. People who will stretch your thinking. People who work in other disciplines. People who have different worldviews, and smart people. How do you gain an audience? Start with people you know, family, friends, co-workers. Leverage existing relationships. Seize unexpected opportunities. Ask for recommendations. With that, he says, make a list of the people you're extremely good at specific activities you want to improve upon. Aim high. And second, create another more obtainable list. So don't just have that list. Make sure that you got another list that you can get to right then and there and be focused on that. The next thing he speaks about when it comes down to talking with others, how do you maximize your time? You maximize your time by prepare. Try to get them off script. What he meant by off script is don't let them get so complacent where they're talking about something that's a predetermined answer. Take them off course. Have a clear objective. Ask good questions. But don't be bound to them. So even though these are really good questions, don't get so caught up on those. Pursue open doors. I'm sorry, I put that in there wrong. Take good notes. Record the session. And what happens after the conversation? Attempt to incorporate something you learn. Share your experience and follow up. The last part we talked about is be smart. So this is the last homework that I want you all to focus on as far as this section is concerned. Be bold and attempt to schedule one conversation next month and see what happens. See what you can learn. With that being said, this is concluded everything when it comes down to fuel your curiosity. Pastor Sanders, I know we got a few minutes left before we can give some announcements and everything. What do you have for me tonight that we can give our audience?
First of all, I want to say, Brother Touch, Deacon Touch, what a great review. A lot of material to cover. Great material. I think you did an extraordinary job of covering it. I do also want to say I write lyrics. Some of the best lyrics have never been written because I never wrote them down. Mm-hmm. And they disappeared into the vapor. Write down your thoughts. I've got me as a Kindle scribe. So now you've got to see to some degree. There's the notes from the other day from Bishop's sermon. I now have them in one place. I also have notes, even songs that I write and put right here so that they're in a place because, again, you think and then they're gone. I also want to say, as I relate this to the Bible, one quick thing. Children were trying to approach Jesus at one point, and the disciples tried to shoo the children away. And Jesus told them to stop. Let me tell you why he told them stop. Kids are curious. They have eager minds to learn. So there's an innocence about them as they come forward in their approach to people. They want to ask questions. They want to learn. They want to get knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. And Jesus basically told us we've got to be like children.
Yep.
We approach him. And so, with having said that, he warned the disciples not to come between or prevent the children from coming forward to be at his feet, because they thought, these are children. They have no business trying to interfere with his time or come before him. Because you know what happens if you don't let him come? It stunts their growth.
Yep.
And their ability to experience full joy. So in your life as a leader, you need to have that same childlike curiosity as you approach your job, as you approach learning. In one case, we were talking earlier. I believe that the writer said that leaders of CEOs and others read anywhere from 65 to 100 plus books per year. Why? Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. They never stop growing. They don't stunt their growth by getting stuck and being complacent. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Pastor Sanders, for that end part. We're going to try to close out right now with some quick announcements. Thank you all for watching the announcements that we're going to talk about. So this month, our bishop, his birthday was on June 4th. So make sure you reach out to him and let him know, hey, happy birthday, Bishop. Hit him up on his Cash App. There's a QR code right there on the screen. You can actually scan the code. His Cash App is $ Brian Hodges. We also have the brothers. Keep in mind that all month long is the Manna for Men. Invite a brother, invite a coworker, a friend. Encourage them to join us in person on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. and on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. If you are a leader and or a member that has been asked to help with the order of service, please arrive an hour early for preparation. Ladies, we got the next one, Manna for Men, June 22nd at 8 a.m. We actually have Pastor Maurice Mickles. He will be facilitating the Advanced Saturday Workshop. Then we have on June 26th at 7 p.m., we have Apostle Walton. He will be taking over that part for the one-night revival. We have the ladies, Paint and Sip, June 22nd at 1 p.m. Remember, you can scan that QR code that's on the screen. It's $28 per person. Get your registration now. They're filling up quick. You only have a few more days left. Hey, register. Happy graduation to the class of 2024. So we're going to be celebrating on June 23rd. These are not just recent graduates. So if you graduated in December because you was a part of this, so you'll be a graduate as well. Come on, join. Let us celebrate. Let us love on you and wish these people a wonderful, wonderful future. Next, we got, let's see what we have here. We have the garage giveaway on June 29th. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also have Young Champions presenting Bible study with Brother Taj and Brother Josh every Thursday night at 7 p.m. We have couples. We have Connection Sunday, which is also going to be on June 30th at 9 a.m. You should be there. Don't be late. You're going to want to see what's going on Connection Sunday. I think that has concluded everything as far as we got. Pastor Sanders, anything else? That's it.
Yes,
well, look.
Thank you for joining.
Hey, I thank everybody for listening. I hope this information has been informative. Sorry we was a little bit pressed for time. I had a lot of material that I had to put out there real quick. So again, have a wonderful night. I'm going to turn you back over to your family and everything. Thanks for watching. God bless.
Hey, what's up, guys? I've got something awesome to share. If you're all about kicking back and having a great time, don't miss our next Man Cave meetup. Imagine this, a warm, sunny afternoon at Deer Lick Park, July 1st, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Pavilion number 1, 2105 Mackard, Douglasville, Georgia. Delicious food, tons of games, and the best company, your brothers. Unwind, laugh, and show off your skills. Bring a friend or invite a brother. The more the merrier. Sponsored by the Brothers Ministry of Gathering of Champions Church. Mark your calendars and set a reminder. See y'all at the park. We're gearing up for an unforgettable day. Come ready to make new memories and reconnect with old friends. Whether you're into sports, games, or just relaxing, there's something for everyone. And don't forget the mouth-watering barbecue. Capture the moments and cherish the memories. See you there, bro.